Hi there. So if you have a Gemini ascendant, so the ascendant is how the world perceives you, your physical body. It's the helm of your natal chart. This is mutable air ruled by Mercury. Okay, and air scatters, and I think mutable air scatters the most. So when you walk into a room, people notice this very, I won't say scattered, though for some Geminis that could be the case, but people see this inherent youthful side to you. You know, you're extremely good with communication, you're extremely good with breaking the ice, and your appearance is very youthful. Mercury is considered a hermaphrodite or androgynous. So Gemini risings tend to look androgynous in a way. They can, gravitate towards both polarities of male, female. And very nimble, hands very nimble, very agile. Now think of what happens when we reach Gemini in the zodiacal wheel. Taurus rules the throat and Gemini rules the shoulders, the lungs, the extremities. So immediately there's a polarization and a division into two of the body, into two. Okay, so immediately you understand the duality inherent in the sign of Gemini. Even when you look at the glyph, the two twins, all right, the higher self and the lower self. Okay, sometimes they're facing away from each other. It means there are two pathways. So this energy is always very, very conflicted in many cases. Okay, even the way you hold a conversation, you can start things like start conversations, but then you tend to lose interest and walk away. You need tons of information all in one go. There's a hankering for information with the Gemini rising. So think about the meme that was going around in YouTube that said that if my mind's like browser with hundreds of tabs open, that's like the Gemini rising energy. There is such a hankering to devour attention, to devour information, that it can be too much. Okay, there's no balance oftentimes with this. Very scattering, very diffusing energy. So the grounding is a must with this, okay? Your mind is going 1,000 places, and people can see that. So sometimes they don't take you as seriously as you'd want them to take you. Okay, now very inconsistent. This energy of Gemini rising is very inconsistent. They may say this to you today and they may change their mind. Okay, and there's this constant when they are with you, they'll be your best friend. They'll say yes to everything you say, and then they'll step out and say something completely different. And I'm not saying all Geminis are two-faced, but there is definitely this need to just talk, and in that there could be gossip that comes out of Gemini risings. All right, now the change of mutable air is too much. Okay, but mutable air thankfully is adaptable and flexible in the way that fixed air, which is Aquarius, and cardinal air, which is Libra, is not. They're not as adaptable and as flexible. So throw a Gemini rising into any situation and they will be able to deal with that. Okay, very impulsive, because Mercury oftentimes was known as the prankster or the trickster. The archetype of Loki, so Loki-like character in Norse mythology. And Mercury was also the patron of thieves. So there's a very wicked and naughty and precocious element, impulsiveness, of course, tremendously Gemini. The card of Gemini is the Lovers, which is again integration of duality. Lovers again, for the card of Lovers to come into being, you need two. So again, you see the polarity very, very heightened in the symbology of Gemini. Okay, and there is a necessity to want to cheat life. Okay, in a sense, figure out easier routes. Okay, so they want to hack the system, and not hack this system in the fixed airway of Aquarius, but find quick ways to infiltrate and penetrate and get the most out of systems. In fact, Gemini risings, you should know money, because money is no longer gold and silver. It is ones and zeros on a computer. So, that Gemini rising can be very great with money in this internet age. Okay, much better than, say, a conventional Taurus or a Capricorn, because you pair that up and you have this really good combination to work with finances and understand pretty much anything. Because if you really look at it, all the signs, even they say this in esoteric astrology, that all the signs have the energy of Gemini, because nothing in 3D can happen without communication, right? Come on, humans need humans. We also want to have interspecies communication, right? Very intelligent, no doubt, even very youthful in the way they behave and in the way they look. They don't grow old easily, Geminis and Virgos, two mercurial signs. Very social. Okay, air is definitely the most social element, and I would say Gemini is the most social of all the air signs. Libra, yes, social. Aquarius, but in a different way. Gemini, will just walk in and start a conversation with anyone, connect with anyone, and that is a very awesome side to the Gemini rising, I think. It's always scattering, the energy of Gemini, because if you think about how when air moves, it covers tremendous ground. Okay, massive amounts of ground is covered by air, and mutable air more so. So Gemini covers a lot of ground and can be good at very many things, actually. Okay, experimenting a bit with a bit of this, with a bit of that. Vocational trainings of all kind can be very interesting for Geminis. Okay, your first house being Gemini, your physical body, your lungs is very, very emphasized. Your shoulders, you can have stiff shoulders, or lung issues if you're not careful, if you're smoking too much. Watching your breath with this placement can be really, really good. You have Cancer as your second house, so anything to do with money can be related to family. Sometimes Gemini risings do come across inheritances because of that Cancer second house. Also with the Cancer second house, anything to do with taking care of or nurturing, in a sense, would be very good for you. Cancer in your second house. Leo's your third house, so the way you communicate is very dramatic sometimes, and it can be very theatrical also, the way you communicate. And even with your siblings, there could be a huge love and hate relationship with your siblings. Okay, now Virgo in the fourth house. Virgo in the fourth house means, your family, very industrious, very service oriented, not, prone to too much luxury, very detail oriented, maybe, your mother was, because again, fourth house deals with the mother. It is the bottom of the chart, and now you have your fifth house, which is Libra, right? And Libra is a beautiful energy when it comes to romance, because you're attracted to beautiful partners. Libra's your fifth house. You want all the Venusian archetypes, and you could be creatively thinking of finances and creatively finding solutions to make money as well with that fifth house. Now your sixth house is Gemini, Cancer, Leo's your third, and Virgo is your fourth, as I said. Libra is your fifth, sixth is Scorpio. Okay, so Scorpio is your health. So that's why tons of Geminis can be very, sexually promiscuous. And the sixth house is Scorpio, so protect your sex organs. as well as your elimination organs, right? Make sure you don't have IBS and stuff like that with the 6th house Scorpio. 7th house Sag, so that's your polarity, like you are interested in information. Sagittarius is interested to assimilate that information and make it wisdom. Okay, I could marry a foreigner. 7th house, are interested in someone from some other part of the world, with that 7th house Sag. 8th house is Capricorn, so solidly it's a very good solid house of manifestation, so you can get some money. And I said inheritance again with that 8th cap. You're very methodical with taxes because this is your 8th house. You have to of course look at the placement of Saturn. And your 9th house is Aquarius, so you love flying. Gemini deals with short distance travel and neighborhoods, whereas Aquarius, whereas the 9th house is long distance travel. And with Aquarius, you're probably, when you travel, you associate with a larger group of people, and maybe you travel for work, or in some way, say you're a you go to film festivals and you're a producer looking for money, and you're going around, and when you're traveling, you're meeting these groups of people, these communities, when you're taking your work to different film festivals. That's an example of how this could play out with Aquarius in the 9th. And Pisces in the 10th, your work life can be quite problematic, because Pisces always associated with trauma and dissolution, ruled by Jupiter though and Neptune. So either you do something with oil, or something with even intoxicants like breweries, wineries and stuff like that is also possible, working in a situation like that with the 10th house Pisces. And 11th house, of course, Aries. 11th house is a blessed house. This is a house of gifts and blessings and larger communities. So there could be a lot of change, and you could be pioneering in the way you deal with larger communities and groups that you're a part of. Okay, and the internet, you could be this cardinal fire being your 11th house. Martian, of course, you have to look to Mars. And then moving to your 12th house, which is Taurus, Venus rules. So it can be that you have things that have been handed down to you from your ancestors, and either you have assimilated them, or you're working through a process of assimilating them. 12th house Taurus could oftentimes mean that 12th house ancestors, incarceration, and so much. So with the Taurus, if Venus is conflicted, you could be incarcerated for fraud or theft or something like that. Okay, or 12th house is also the house of seclusion. So for you, maybe not having enough Venusian things could be a form of seclusion as well. With a Gemini rising, you're extremely talkative. You are fun to be with. If there's a subject you teach, you simplify it, because again, Gemini in a sense I think is about simplification. When I have Gemini rising clients, I tell them something, and they immediately come at me with a comeback, and they simplify that thing. So I think Gemini is always looking to simplify in one sense, and that higher self and the lower self, and they're trying to figure out how to communicate with the 3D world, right? This is all things mercurial. Gemini rising, you could do everything that has to do with office work, has to do with writing, blogging. I think writing is an amazing line of work for Gemini rising. Journalism, self-help books, goes perfect with the 10th house Pisces also, if you dump in some spiritual stuff and mystical stuff. Geminis can be very, very mystical, especially the way they are perceived. Some of them can be very mystical. So now moving on to Cancer rising. Cancer rising is one of the most precious rising signs according to me, one of the most complicated as well. And the Sumerians believed, when they had the 10 zodiacal houses, and they believed that humanity of this round, this Manvantara, was born from Cancer. Okay, also the hypothetical birth chart of the universe, which is the Thema Mundi, also has a Cancer rising, and all planets in rulership. Okay, so now in Cancer we have Jupiter exalted, and that's beautiful. And who is the ruler? Luna herself, or Moon. And Cancer is feminine, and she's cardinal water. Yes, she is quite fixed and quite methodical, but she definitely wants to start new things. Cancer risings, that cardinal energy is pushing you towards starting new things. Okay, this is the archetype of the mother and child. So in a sense, Cancer risings, when you walk into a room, people see that caring side of you, and mostly you're mothering people. I mean, mothering them or smothering them, but mothering, you come across as a mother. Okay, even if you're a male, you just have that very beautiful, nurturing side to you. Educationist, guidance counselors, social workers, amazing, even motivational speakers, psychics, of course. Cancer rising, you're very psychic, very psychic. There's an inherent connection with food, because without moon there would be no food, only because of the rise and fall of the tides, and the way agriculture has been created is around lunar cycles. So without Cancer there would be no food, and Cancer rules the breast and the stomach. So automatically you understand that this sign, or this rising sign that you've come with, is about nourishment, nurturing. So you want to bring in that nurturing component into the work you do, whether you are a domestic goddess, as in a homemaker, or whether you work out in the world, or whether you're a tarot reader, psychic, whatever. You want to nurture, and this is why Jupiter is exalted in your sign, because Jupiter expands, and expansion and nurturing. Jupiter is the great benefic. So he likes to nurture things. Interestingly, Cancer rising, you're not only interested in growth, in the process of growth, but you're also interested in sustaining that growth. This is why you are at the bottom of the zodiacal wheel. You sustain everything else. Sustain everything else. It's beautiful, right? It's moon ruled, and moon is always shifting and changing and fluxing. Okay, so the mood of a Cancer arising is very, very, very changeable. Cancer rising, you are very changeable but not adaptable, because you don't have that mutable energy, like say mutable water like Pisces. Very adaptable, very flexible. You've seen change because you're cardinal, but it's not that you always tune into that change and you go with that change easily. It's not. But Cancer, like Taurus, is very methodical. Taurus is fixed earth, Cancer cardinal water, but both signs, there is a cautious and methodical way they approach things. Okay, slow and sure. Cancer doesn't like to rush into anything. So always, body is also very voluptuous with a Cancer rising. In fact, very many men with Cancer rising have more of estrogen. So sometimes they can develop moobs or man boobs. It's possible with the Cancer rising. Very protective about the family. Because Cancer is, imagine, it's the waters of the womb. And life comes from the waters of the womb. So the Cancer is not only the nurturer, but is also the protector. Every mother knows that she not only nurtures a child, she is her protector. Okay, so this is a role that comes to you with the responsibility you have taken up as a Cancer rising. Okay, you want to cultivate, you want to nurture. even if your moon is very conflicted, you still have that nurturing component about you. Think of how the breast fills with breast milk even before the baby is born. It's because nature gives, okay? Nature creates. So Cancer, you also are like that. You create opportunities for people. You help them. Anybody who knows the Cancer rising, you will know that they're always ready to help. They're ready to go that extra mile to just help you. They protect and cultivate what is vulnerable. And that is so precious, because that is the archetype of the mother, right? Who is more vulnerable than the child? So in a sense, Cancer can become the voice of the vulnerable, because they want to not only nourish what is vulnerable, but cultivate and protect it. That's very precious. And but they also want to be cared for. They also want to be protected. Oftentimes they give so much and they don't receive in return. We see this played out with mothers all around. We give, but we don't get back. Not even a word of acknowledgement or thank you sometimes. So this is something that the moody Cancer has to deal with, okay? Now also, if you look at Cancer, the glyph of Cancer is a crab. So automatically you'll see that they are Cancer rising, you're harder on the outside and very soft on the inside. You're armored, you're protected, you're armored. Like, oh, I'm not going to let you go. The other armored sign is Scorpio, fixed water, and cardinal water, which is a crab. There's also the crab eat crab mentality with the Cancer rising. You pull someone down, of course, the lower vibration. Not everybody is like that. Okay, we can pull someone down. This changeability is something that people can, people are sometimes unable to understand and work with. This constant changeability that the moon ruled Cancer brings on the body. And this is your rising. Every day the moon changes, so your physical body could be literally changing, and your menstrual cycles can be very problematic with the Cancer rising. And don't forget, the full moon and new moon hits you the most. She's your ruler. And interestingly also, I want to mention here, the moon does not go retrograde. So that internal landscape that's Mercury and the other planets provide when things become internalized is not happening. So yes, okay, with the waxing, waning is internalized, waxing is externalized, all of that. But by herself, the moon or Luna does not retrograde. She's ever moving, ever fluctuating. And if you really look at why we see her illuminated the way she is, it's not because she's displaying that particular kind of light by herself. She has no light of her own. She's a rock. She is reflecting back the light that the sun is showing on her. So in a sense, we see when she's full, we see the sun opposite her shining on her. Okay, when she's a new moon, she's with the sun, so we don't see her. Okay, and when it is stop it, when it's waxing, we do all kinds of seeding with a waxing moon. When she's waning, we do all banishment rituals with the waning moon. Okay, so this changeability, but Cancer rising can be very demanding emotionally. Very demanding emotionally. You have to see the placement of the moon, of course, and you have to understand the fourth house dynamics and all of that. But very, very moody Cancer risings, okay? And you flux and change like the moon phases. Can be very problematic for your uterus, okay? And basically you have to make sure your menstrual cycles are healthy, okay? Interestingly, with cardinal water and the way it shows up in Cancer, Cancer is forever trying to create what it wants, a life it wants, a relationship it wants. So sometimes they can come across as very bossy or very demanding. It's because they're just looking to create that. They love vintage stuff like Taurus, very sentimental at times, and they can be very connected to the past in a way, very connected to the grandmothers or the cousins from the mother's line as well. Cancer rising. Now, Cancer being your first house, as I said, moon on your physical body, emotionally, this could be too much. Okay, this could bring about depression or unhealthy eating habits. Cancer has a very close connection to food, rules the stomach. So this emotional eating can again see you put on weight. Okay, and Cancer is your first house and Leo is your second house. So Cancer rising, oftentimes you can literally pose for pictures and make money. Okay, pose for pictures and make money. Tons of film people, music people, people in the entertainment world have Cancer rising. Virgo is your third house, so you can be quite critical and harsh of your siblings or your neighborhood, or you can be very industrious and helpful towards them also. Libra is your fourth house, so your home. There's definitely something dualistic about your home, right? Because Libra, either your mom was so into setting up a harmonious pattern that she was afraid to break it, or she was a pushover, or everything in your house was just perfect and harmonious and you were not allowed to really explore yourself in the way you would have wanted to. Okay, your fifth house is Scorpio. So immediately, and this is by trine aspects, immediately you're attracting lovers who are sort of platonic. Okay, platonic relationships before marriage, the youth especially. Okay, problems, scorpionic, obsessive lovers. Sixth house Sagittarius, you've got to take care of your hips, and Sagittarius can be very, again, mutable fire, very distributive, but ruled by Jupiter. And your seventh house or your polarities, Capricorn, of course. So you will probably marry someone who's solid and already established in life in some way. Seventh house Capricorn, your relationships, you like commitment, you like that, solidness to it. You don't like anything flimsy or say like Aries or Gemini. No, you won't be happy. Now your eighth house is like I said, you want your seventh house is Capricorn, your eighth house is Aquarius. So very difficult energy. Eighth house of death, house of taxes, other people's money. You can get money online, you can get money through your larger communities. Aquarius deals with larger communities. If you have a futuristic technological project, you could get money for that. Pisces is your ninth house, so when you travel, you can sometimes connect very well, and ninth house again ruled by Jupiter and Neptune. So your higher education, there could be a dissolution of your higher education in some way. Wherever Pisces is, there's always this trauma. Ninth house is higher education. So there could be some problems that can arise with your higher education, per se, okay? Pisces also deals with alcohol addictions. So maybe you could not complete your higher education because of things like that or whatever, okay? Aries is your 10th house, your midheaven. So your career, in your work life, you're definitely very pioneering. And this is, again, cardinal fire, very pioneering. Very forward thinking, and dropping a sun in that exalted 10th house varies. Very powerful. You will shine in the world. Okay, even drop in moon is more problematic, but you get the point. Drop in a Mars, that's it, 10th house Mars, super visible. Okay, and your 11th house is Taurus. which is larger communities, and you could be doing business related to beauty online, online business related to money, even cryptocurrencies and all of that. You can understand it, although you're, as I said, you're not very flexible. Not easy for you to learn new things like Gemini, mutable air. They're quick to learn new things. And Gemini is your 12th house. Having mutable air in the 12th can be problematic. Okay, like you're never sure of your dreams, you're never sure of the messages you get from the psychic world. You're bothered about your spirituality. Okay, now Cancer rising is definitely a very beautiful feminine expression, and very caring, very nurturing, very concerned, and it can be needy, manipulative, and all of that in its lower vibrations. But overall, a Cancer rising person just wants to make life easier for all around them. And they're ready to nurture, look after. And also, Cancer rising, very fertile energy, can get pregnant very easily, like Taurus. Not, it will not take them a long time. Even problems with the breasts can happen. So with the Cancer rising, it's always important to eat healthy, connection to the stomach, and also check your breasts, and have the turmeric tea, and do whatever you need to stay healthy. Although mammograms are really bad, they give you the cancer. Okay, not cure you or not just test you, but they give you the cancer. So thank you. Like, comment, subscribe, share, and let me know what you think.